welcome. Welcome to this panel discussion on the challenges and opportunities for women in the art world. For today's discussion, I will be moderating. My name is Susan J. Mumford. I'm the founder of the Association of Women Art Dealers, and I'm delighted to have with me on the panel, I will start with the person to my right, Jacqueline Harvey, as the founder of the Women in Art Fair. We're really delighted to have you with us. So looking forward to your expertise. Well-deserved round of applause to actually, from your perspective, to her left is Cynthia Valianti-Corbett. And Cynthia is the director of the Cynthia Corbett Gallery and the founder and director of the Young Masters Art Prize, also, as I'm sure you know, taking place this week during Frieze Week. Next to me we have also Virginia Damptza. She is the founder of Virginia Visual Arts Limited, known also as VVA. And next to Virginia, we have Katrina Alexa Rymel. And Katrina is the founder of Pradella House and co-founder of AWAD, which many will know also as the Association of Women in the Arts. Now, it's worth mentioning in context of this discussion what the Instagram bio for the Women in Art Fair states. It really stood out to me when I was looking at it. The Women in Art Fair is a new initiative dedicated to redressing the gender imbalance in the art industry. So here we are on site where that is taking place. It is paramount to recognize for all of us that gender is not binary and comes in many forms. So we have this panel discussion with that recognition in mind. In this conversation, we're discussing women and men for ease of understanding and discussing with an aim to have actionable takeaways to benefit a gender diverse, inclusive, and equitable art world. And that does indeed go well beyond the boundaries of gender. Now, the relevance is needless to say that we do have that imbalance, and I will shortly be providing you some recent statistics on where we are today, so we'll know this is where we are. How can we improve the situation? The goal then, the goal for all of us in the room is identifying the real-world challenges and opportunities for women in the art world today. I might add, to achieve that with our allies as well. This will include clear actionables for any gender in the months and years to come, and we will be giving you some key takeaways to action at the end of the discussion. So the panel runs until 12 o'clock. We have actually got a little bit of a late start, so we might push that to 12:10, so I hope that that will work for everyone. Be sure to take photographs. I've seen some people already taking some video, and use the hashtags Women in Art Fair and WIAF, and of course at Women in Art Fair Official. Okay, so after I've provided some statistics on where we are today with gender in the sector, I'll introduce the panelists to provide context for who is speaking. We will open up then to yourselves for a question and answer. And then, as I said, each panelist will give an actionable takeaway. Right, some statistics for you. In the UK, 64% of undergraduates and 65% of postgraduates in the creative arts and design identify as women. But 68% of artists represented at top London commercial galleries are men. That was from the Friedlands Foundation, really excellent organization. Women still occupy fewer directorships at museums with budgets over $15 million, holding 30% of art museum director positions and earning, this is where it sticks, 75% for every dollar earned by male directors. So you might know that the men directors tend to have larger budgets. That's also in statistics. The share of women artists represented by galleries was 39%, up from 37% in 2021. That was the most recent art market report by UBS and Art Basel. The share of women artists represented by galleries in the primary market was higher at 42% than for those operating in both the primary and secondary markets, 38%. Now then, while the share of the number of women artists represented by galleries has increased over 5 years, progress appears, this is interesting, to have stalled in the last 2 years, with the share of women artists fractionally less than the 2019 Art Basel report. So we've got some work to do. The share of then sales made from works by women artists was 40% for primary market galleries and 30% for those operating in both markets, primary and secondary, with strong sales having continued for a small number of successful women artists. There's several more statistics to read. In the US, nearly half, that's 45.8%, of visual artists are women. Yet on average, they earn 74 cents for every dollar made by men artists. The National Endowment for the Arts found that as women artists age, they earn progressively less than their men counterparts. Women artists aged 55 to 64 only earn 66 cents for every dollar earned by men. That's something that really needs to be addressed, and it is being addressed in these walls. At the start of the pandemic, an assessment was made of whether having a smaller or greater share of women artists affected sales performance. This is going to be a bit more encouraging for you. The findings indicated that having a higher share of women has not been a negative factor for sales as of 22, but having very few could be. And if you've read other stats on things like women who are on boards of companies, you do actually, as you increase the diversity, this is based on other studies, you actually have increased performance. So it looks to me, based on what was found, I think that was the Art Basel report as well, that actually if you have more diversity within a gallery, the gallery actually has higher sales. So that's encouraging and suggests some action points. So now on to the panel discussion with my colleagues here today. I have an opening question for you, which is, what are some of the challenges in being a woman in the art world that you have either personally experienced or witnessed? I'm opening that to my panelists on who would like to observe. This is not quantitative, this is qualitative. What are some of the challenges? Cynthia?
Good morning, everyone. I'll speak as loud as possible because we have something going on outside. I don't know exactly what it is. I wanted to speak first because I think I'm probably the oldest in chronological age. And what I have seen over and over again, and it's really interesting, is how women who have had to face so many challenges in their personal domestic lives, that has such a big impact generally in the working world, but particularly I've seen it in the art world. And so many of the women artists that I'm working with or apply to my Young Masters Prize have had these incredible challenges. And really, it's something that I think the art world is coming to task with now. But it was only in, I think it was 2011 or 12, that, for instance, the Turner Prize got rid of its upper age limit, which is extraordinary to me. So it's so discriminatory because even if, women having children, but also caring for other people in their families, which generally falls to women. So I think that's something I did want to say, and I keep seeing it over and over again.
Actually, I'm adding to this because concrete examples, which are always the best, is I feel like a lot of, when I represent or work with female artists, I feel like I'm losing them the first, when they have their first child. It's like almost like they have a gap here, and I understand because making art it's your baby, it's an obsession. Having a child is also your it's a full-on experience, right? So I always feel like the first 2 years are kind of they're not producing, or what they're producing is not as strong, and then or they come back stronger, or actually they don't come back. And I think it's how actually we help women during this time, which is the initial time of giving birth and having this child, and the child needing, a carer, right? But how do we give the infrastructure of women being able to work during this period and having the help? And I think that's a period that actually is difficult, and this is the time where we actually need to help the women. Actually, you just had a baby, so you're the best example. Sorry, I'll pass on the mic.
No, thank you. I think re-emerging back, it's so important, and giving that support. And it's not like when you have a baby, you don't want to feel forgotten. I remember even my co-founder, she's like, oh, shall I give you 6 months? I was like, no, I'm not dead. Like, I'm still here. So no, do keep me in a loop, keep me included. And I think re-emerging, especially for artists, having a family, it's important to re-emerge back. Sorry, Jacqueline.
I feel that in my experience over the years, it's these ladies, these organisations that help to support all artists. If it wasn't for AWAD, AWAD, etc., as a business person, you have no anchoring. And it was the institutions and the support network, which is what we're trying to do here with Women in Art Fair, that is also so important for women. We all have our cycle of growth and development. You know, every woman, not everyone chooses to have children, but we still need that to grow, we need support. And it was, for us, Art Strategics, it was so important that AWAD was there to anchor us. So we're trying to help the artists to find a home and a place to support the growth during their careers. And Cynthia would have seen that, obviously, through the Young Masters Art Prize, that she's gone 14 years of supporting the creative talent and making sure that it can get a steady foundation for everything. So support in organisation, on an organisational level and on a personal level is important. The diamond, sorry, I've had a cold. I've not been able to, I've been speaking too much. But I've actually been, but also on a personal level, when you decide to create and you become an artist, who supports you? It all starts from in the home, your relationships. As Cynthia pointed out, it's whether or not the relationships, emotional disturbance is a great killer of creativity. And we all suffer some form of emotional disturbance. And even within business, it will just shut everything down. So it's really acknowledging that this is what's going on. Let's try and support and work through it. You just can't push it under the rug.
And Jacqueline, what I'm hearing in what you're saying is potentially privilege within being able to be in a situation to be able to pursue your career. So awareness of that in communities and helping one another is paramount. And I thought I might add one more comment on the point that Cynthia initially made in combination with others on the caring role that so many women do take, which is an acknowledgement to start with that there are men artists who end up as an artist perhaps being the primary individual in a relationship who look after a child in the early days, and I actually have mentored some men in that situation. But what that doesn't negate is the reality that women overall end up much, much more in those caring roles, and I do think that there's not enough said or enough recognition for women looking after other family members, which I have personally seen as well in mentoring. I was struck a few years ago when I was mentoring a number of women, maybe about their 50s, and they were all caring for older parents. And I thought, my gosh, none of the men in their 50s I'm seeing in this same role. So some awareness. I guess the saying that comes to my mind is knowledge is power. Once you have that conscious awareness, you can do something about it. Now, tackling the point of opportunities, I think, Jacqueline, you were very much so just pointing to that actually already in what you were saying.
I think that's not the only challenges.
Oh, there are many more challenges that we could discuss. Virginia, do you want to add to challenges?
Add one more.
Go for it.
Well,
I think as women, I think we are very judged, and sometimes we're actually judged by other women. So I think creating a support system, women for women, I always think, I always say, I rise, we rise together. So I think it's, if you compare, I don't like making comparisons, but as women we get people are very critical about our work, and I think that's also, we need to build confidence. So it's how we help each other and not be so judgmental and help each other. So I think it's women to women, we also have to be supportive and not so judgmental. I think.
And I'll then comment on that, which is that then speaks to, it could be conscious or unconscious bias. Actually, I will tell a really quick story on this. I am awful at names, and I'll try to remember the collectors' names as I'm talking. So there is a couple who collect art. They're in the States. I was one time moderating a panel discussion during Miami Art Week. So the story is that this couple decided to start building an art collection. They go to an art advisor, a woman art advisor in New York, and they go, okay, would you please put together an initial proposal for us? They were looking at building a wonderful collection that they would enjoy that also might return on their investment, provide some returns. And the proposal was returned to them, and they noticed, thank goodness, that not a single woman artist was included in the proposal. That's an example of being conscious. And they went back to the art advisor and they said, why are there no women artists in here? And the answer was that men are a safer bet for investment. And so what they did is they said, we're going to build a collection of only women artists. And so they have a collection today that is well known, and I will find the reference, that is it's realist art of women by women. That's all that they have, not a single piece by a man artist. And of course, what has happened? As a result of a lot of their support, the women artists have become more renowned, the price has gone up, quite a savvy investment, I might say, getting in early and doing that. But it's a tangible example of what happens even at that advisory level. Right, so we will move on to thinking about some opportunities that women have in the art world today. What are some opportunities?
I'll start. Well, because I didn't come from the art world, the greatest opportunity that I saw within the art industry was the freedom. There is so much freedom actually to get started and move forward. If you are passionate enough about what you want to do, there might not be so much finance behind it, but to get started, the art industry is one of those businesses, an industry whereby if you have nothing, you can just ride out and create it all yourself. It's not heavily regulated, unlike many other industries that I've been involved with, and business-wise. Financially, yes, there's a lot of regulation going on, but actually getting started is something that each and every artist can do, and that knowledge of how to get started needs to be transferred and communicated more and more through the colleges, art colleges, through every opportunity that we've got, is to get started. If you're passionate enough, or connect up with people that can help you to move your career forward as quickly as possible and get your work sorted immediately. And I really love that about the art world, that you can literally, you can hook up with anybody, anyone that wants to help you. It's like, that's what I call the Wild West. It's literally the Wild West. And that can be harsh for more introverted, timid-minded individuals. Artists can be very creative. They create their work, but then they don't want to deal, and that's a negative. They don't want to deal with the next part, the marketing. But there are people, if you can, that will help you to do that. So I love that about, and it's it's cross-gender.
What I would say is that because being a woman, I mean, it's a generalization, but I think There is this multitasking that we always have to do. We have to be flexible. I think we're quite empathetic. And I think because of those characteristics that most of us have, it gives us quite a lot of opportunities. So, definitely use all that we have to go forward and look at everything very positively.
Yes, and Cynthia, and it could be that whether it's nurture or nature, on what you were saying about multitasking, it's certainly something women learn, the multitasking aspect of life. So, Jacqueline, I'm going to point this question to you, which is, what tangible role does an event such as the Women in Art Fair play in a woman artist's career?
Well, I think for artists, first of all, I'd like to say, Women in Art Fair, this is our first year. And what we tried to do here was to create opportunity. So the open call was really important to us to really communicate with women artists as well as the galleries. Most art fair model is a gallery model, so they will only have galleries. But for us, we wanted to communicate with the artists as well, because we knew the talent that we'd experienced for 10 years running gallery. There was talent out there. Talent was coming to us all the time and saying, will you give us a home? Will you give us a home? We were only one gallery. All of us, we've sat here and we've had to turn away so many artists. So we're a niche in the sense that we wanted to have gallery plus artists to see what talent came through the door. And I'm really, really happy and thankful that the artists showed up and the selection committee just chose, everything that's around us. It's all what the artists put in. And I was really happy to see the quality. So for Women in Art Fair, I feel that moving forward as a business, we'll always try to present those opportunity, build community for artists, so you can come, we're a developing platform. We're not going to stand still. We're trying to develop and put in all the levels of support that we feel that we've experienced under the guidance of ourselves 10 years, under all the expert women that we know, that we've worked with, that have got that experience to tell us what to do. It's a relationship. We're here to serve art, to serve your creative talents. So that is why we exist. Without the artists and the creative talent, we won't exist. So we will try and do our best for everyone. Yeah.
And actually, I'm going to ask you to expand, and then I'll hand to yourself. It's not obviously excluded to the women artists who are on display. I'm also thinking about the gallerists and other women professionals that are involved with an event like this. So what would you add to that in mind of women gallerists and supporting their careers and the role that this plays for them?
From a gallery point of view, we've always experienced women artists at different stages in their career. And I would hope that gallerists would be able to take a few more risks with some of their artists and feel that, okay, they can come to Women in Art Fair. They may have artists that they're not showing so much, or for whatever reason, they've not been able to do what they want to with those female artists. We're saying, okay, come to us and we're not judging you in that sense. We're not going to follow the usual parameters that define. We've experienced art fairs on very many different levels through our business over the past 10 years, and we wanted to kind of nullify all those issues that go on. We've been in position as gallery, we've presented to an art fair, and they've said, well, we don't like that artist, you can't take them, but we would like to work with the galleries to support them, and in whichever way they need, really. For emerging, for the talent that they've got, we trust the galleries to do their job, because that is their job as also.
So back to the second question about opportunities. I mean, this is an opportunity, right? Or AITA is an opportunity. Or actually, if you're doing this grant, open call, right? A women prize. So I think that's actually what we need to create, like opportunities for women, platforms for women. I mean, sometimes the Tate does this, or even art fair should be even a section, maybe could be a section at Frieze or any other art fair, where it's like a women's section. So I think that's the opportunities we need to create, and that's an opportunity.
Reminds me of a section at Armory a few years ago now, where it was for the African diaspora, and it was really successful, and to have that focus was just absolutely fantastic.
It's up to us to create these opportunities also, yeah.
So that's really interesting, because when I launched the Young Masters Art Prize in 2009, it was open to all, no upper age limit, etc. But then in 2017, we decided to add the Emerging Women's Prize. And it was incredible. And what it has done for some of these women's careers is amazing. And so much of the time I'm out there saying to people, you know, apply, and a lot of women will say, oh, I'm way too old. And then, you know, in 2017, one of the winners was 69 years old. So I think, yeah, grasp at opportunities, because it's, you know, it's a really great way of meeting other people and bringing yourself forward.
We exist in a society where we still have such high levels of inequality, lack of opportunity, etc. With Women in Art Fair, we want to break all those things down, unfortunately. I mean, my partner, you know, we started back the year after Cynthia did the women's section 2017. We started working on this in 2018. It was just like so straight for us. It's just common sense. And when Elena says, I want revolution, and I said, yeah, we do our revolution. I said, yeah, we organize the revolution. We cannot continue as a society or within industry and a business where you have such ridiculous, really ridiculous statistics really on equality of, you know, female artist prices at auction, the opportunities that are existing for the artists, the female gallerists, the way we're treated, you know, it was almost like they just want you to make you invisible. And we're not accepting any of that. We will continue to do what we do, like we do every day.
I think it's also, I mean, we are in London, right? But there's also a lot of amazing artists in different countries who have actually not the platform. And I think also those women need support in underdeveloped countries. You see amazing artists in Haiti. I mean, you know, what would you think Haiti, right? So I think there's amazing art everywhere. How do you support the woman also in countries where they don't have the infrastructure? And I think that's also a question, yeah.
Okay. Now the next question, I am going to ask one of our panelists to answer, maybe two, and actually touches upon the potential thinking from the other side. And in fact, if we consider these differing events or the collection that I've just found that focus on women, which by the way, that collection is the Bennett collection if you want to look it up. Dr. Elaine Malati-Schmidt and Stephen Allen Bennett are behind it. Really do look it up, it's quite inspiring, and they have a prize as well. But when I think about these even networks like AWAD with AWAD that focus on women, I know for myself as a founder of such an organization, I have received direct pushback in my face many times in the past. So because this is a reality, the question I have is thinking about opportunities from a man's perspective, and I'm thinking about a man artist. I'm saying man because it's gender, not sex. How might you handle someone suggesting that men artists are not being, or someone suggesting, pardon me, that they are being discriminated against? Might seem an outrageous question in this audience, but it is a real question that we face when we lead such initiatives. So how can we help men not feel threatened, but to be allies, to enable them to see opportunities for women colleagues with whom they can celebrate their growing careers together?
I think one way to include male artists in this whole discussion is collaboration, mentorship. And I think that that could be something really interesting, and it's giving me an idea for another prize. Seriously, I think pairing a more well-established male artist, or maybe someone that is not, like if you were in the UK, say someone that is not, ethnically English, and seeing how they have managed to maneuver, in the art world, and mentor, and set up something where there's a collaboration, because it's not, us against them. It's to be more inclusive,
The men artist situation, we've seen discrimination in the workplace with women, and there has had to be all with race, where there has had to be positive discrimination take place in order to start the ball rolling. And that historically, that has caused a lot of conversations and issues to do with talent. Is the person talented enough to have that job? Is the person... So I look at it from that perspective, which is why in this selection committee, we chose to go to the experts. First of all, the selection committee was blind. It was done completely blind. No one could see anything for anyone. To ensure that there is quality. Now, the art speaks for itself. So we're saying that we're a female organisation, so I'm saying that the quality is the right level, and we are entitled, like they have been entitled to control the industry for so long, we're entitled to set something up for ourselves. We are willing, as an organisation, we are nothing without the men. We have male gallerists, they collaborate with us. We have never said, if you're a male gallery owner or whatever, that you cannot take part in Women in Art Fair, because some of the men are our biggest supporters, and we are more than happy to work with them. But in some cases, I've seen in society that it is acknowledged, where it's acknowledged that there is inequality, you sometimes have to have positive, affirmative action. And this is an affirmative action. You have to become active, an activist, and you're entitled to do that.
Katrina, when you and I chatted before the discussion, you were citing real interest in the conversation about what gallerists, art advisors, and museum directors and curators can do to achieve equity in representation and collections. I'm going to pass that one to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Susan. Put me right on the spot. No, thank you so much. And you know what? There is tangible things we can do. I really love the book called Invisible Woman that say how the world is made by men, the infrastructures, the cities, how cities are built are made for men, which is actually powered by women, and very much art world is powered by women. Susan, you gave all these amazing statistics. And I think what we can do is do more research. What we need is actually more data, both artists and women working in art world. So by having more writing and more research, we can actually see where the trajectory is and what physical things we can do to make the change, because we can. And amazing to see art fair like this to taking that step and starting this conversation, and more of this will definitely help. But yeah, I'm big on data. This is my next step. I need the data, I need the numbers to be able to show how we're making the change and how we're projecting the future.
I think for me it's more about inclusivity and diversity, and I think that's the major thing with everything you do, an exhibition or a museum show or a selection of artists. I think it's all about diversity. So for me personally, it's not about gender so much, it's about diversity and inclusivity. I had an amazing interview with Annette Messager. I don't know if you know, she's a French artist. Her husband passed away, but it's Christian Boltanski. And we were having jokes because a lot of people say I'm a feminist. Still, I think it's outdated concept, but people, when they were writing about her, she's a feminist. So I said, how do you feel about this notion that they say that you're a feminist? And she said, well, for me, art is neither masculine, neither feminine. It's human. And that's what I believe. And and that's actually what makes us stronger, because it's our art, and it's about bringing this diversity in everything we do,
Great, thank you very much. And picking up on what Katrina was talking about with data, some quick references for you. There's an organization based out of New York City called the Professional Organization for Women in the Arts, POW Arts. They have been very actively working on researching the art market and looking at things like pay equity. So look at what they have. We also have, of course, the Friedlands Foundation. We have the National Museum for Women in the Arts in the States again. We do have the Art Market Report. Claire McAndrews has been putting a new focus on the gender situation for the art market in her annual report for the last, I think, about 4 years or so. I'm just looking at the other ones. There was one more, the National Endowment for the Arts in the States, interestingly, has some statistics as well. Now it's your turn. What questions do you have for the panel today? Our focus is on the challenges and opportunities for women in the art world.
Thank you. I just became very conscious that the room and your audience is very full of women. And I just wanted your perspective on that, on the fact that we're talking about wanting to have this, joint relationship with men and have that balance, and yet this room, though lovely to see women here, and being a woman myself, I'm very conscious of the fact there is a lack of male faces here, and that feels conscious in the fact of what resonates after this event. There might be a lack of male contributions that would be very impactful had they been here. So just wanted your thoughts on that, and if that's something that is going to be taken forward. Yeah.
Well, it's amazing to see all female panel and the audience. And I think when we have women in a room, we have a very different conversation. And I think it's amazing to have the men support us. I don't think they always need to be in the room. I think we are there with them. We have conversations with them. I find some biggest collectors or male supporters are men, but I don't need them in events, they're part of it, but the conversation might be just a bit different, in my opinion.
I'm going to hop into panelist mode for a moment as well to speak to that question. It's one I've actively addressed. The way that I actually found out about the Bennett collection that year in Miami was that I had put together the panel, and I, at the time, had implemented a rule for myself. If I'm putting together a panel in this situation, actually, the reason that the panel is all women is that we were the judges for the prize. And it was celebrating women who could have that position of judging as well. So it makes good sense in this scenario. But I had put in place a rule about diversity on the panels that I put together. And so that rule is to always have a man on the panel, and to not have, when I possibly can, just one race either. And actually what happened in Miami that year is that the original panelist fell out because of illness, and we actually knew of a collector who could talk on the topic. And I always thought, my idea with this was that by having a man on the panel, and I say this as a professional speaker as well, you show you basically are taking a leadership role on that stage and attracting them into the room. So I do think it's a really important consideration. I really appreciate that question. It's an excellent one, and our allies are absolutely key. Next question.
Going back to your question, it's slightly not answering, but it's answering at the same time. So I think, if you look at collecting, right, and it's something I want to engage actually here with my colleagues, most of the collecting is done by men. unfortunately. And I think one of the things we need to do as women, I'm talking to Cynthia, Jacqueline, Susan here, you know, and that we need to actually educate women, on collecting, you know. And that's actually a huge gap, because so many men collect and so little women, you know, and I think that's has to be an education here. And I think we need to come together and trying to mentor women or coach women how important it is also to collect, because collect, it's so many things. It's about creating history. It's analysis and investment. You know, it's helping someone else. So it's a part of your history too. So I think it's something that we all need to also apply to us.
Good, actionable. Okay. Next question.
Hi, my name is Natalia. So first of all, let me thank you. I was one of the people who answered the open call, and especially in this time at the beginning of my career in the art world, it gave me an immense boost and you know, created a fabulous opportunity to exhibit my work. In my prior careers, what I've always seen is when people are talking about success of women and teach women how to succeed, in many ways women are taught how to behave like a man, how to self-represent yourself, how to behave in a meeting so that you attract attention, how to speak with confidence, you know, which is all well and good. But for those women who want to preserve in many ways their femininity, their softness, but still make it in the art world, what would you say the best starting points and the best resources are there?
I think that's why you have gallerists. I think that's why you have agents. I think dealers and other people that can represent you and fight your corner, you know, and that's why they exist, because they can help you to, if you've got representation, you don't have to, I'm not saying that you have to perform like a man, because I don't believe in that at all. I don't believe in that standard. I don't believe, I believe in being yourself. And I think one thing that I've seen from all the artists that showed up on the private view, which there were some fabulous women who were just themselves. And I was just so happy to see them being themselves, free, you know, and proud of what they do. And I would always say, whoever you are, it's best to be yourself, you know, all the time. And if you need a little intermediary, just get one, you know.
Totally support everything that Jacqueline is saying. And I think that, you know, you be true to yourself as an artist, as a female identifying, or as an artist generally. And your art, in the voice that you have in that art, will shine through. Yeah, I mean, gallerists and dealers and agents, we've been around for thousands of years. I mean, read Vasari. I mean, this is nothing new. And it's so that those people can advocate for you to be yourself and have your own voice. And a lot of the artists I represent are terribly shy, terribly reserved. And in some cases, their art, you'd never know that. That's fine.
And actually, one other point, picking up actually what Cynthia was saying, but also looking to Cynthia, is so it's about community, and also looking at Katrina. Cynthia, I've not heard just once, but multiple times, with emerging women gallerists, how inspiring and helpful you have personally been. And I actually heard that from a new gallerist in the last few months. I was actually going to convey it to you later. So I'm now telling you on a panel so you can, you know, get emotional in front of everyone. And it really makes the difference. And the reason why I was thinking of both of you is that you have got, say, in the space of the Association of Women Art Dealers, you've got the safe space for women art dealers. Then you have you've got AWAD, which is looking at the wider art community and the role of community. I've actually, in a different company of mine, performed research looking at the role of community in careers, people making a career in the art market. Community is not just a nice thing to have, it is vital. They're there to be there for you when you need it. Are there knocks? There are knocks. You can know that you're not alone as well. I could see a keen hand just there. Did you? Okay. Yep. Quick.
Actually, I agree with everything, but I think identity is very important. And we see famous artists, we'll take Tracy Emin, right? Identity, she's herself. And that's what people like about her. So, of course, I believe in having a support, an agent, an art dealer, but also identity is important. And I think sometimes that's what makes you unique.
Perfect. I could see a hand just there. Yeah.
Hi. Yes, I'm also speaking from the same point as Natalia, as somebody who responded to the open call. And I think, many years ago I actually came across AWAD, and I thought what an absolutely fabulous organization. And then I realized it was more about art professionals and very much London-based, which is fantastic. And I think what's so amazing about this particular show is that you're all speaking about things which are very important in this panel, but you have this incredible evidence of what you're speaking about. So I think that's incredible. But I think as artists, sometimes there's a gap between the artists and then the dealers and I think as artists, I think as someone was saying, it's very important that women support each other and that we realize that we have different skills. We can write about each other's work. Those of us who can speak well can actually appear at an exhibition and talk about the work. And so I just wondered how you as a panel might suggest to artists that they bring more of that sense of community together as artists.
That's what I want to do for the rest of my life, is finding answers to these questions. And I think that's what we all as a panel want to do and find ways to do. I don't have an answer though.
Especially in big cities, it's very insular. You work all day, you're in your studio, you don't meet anyone and everything. And I think probably in the 90s, when you had like Damien Hirst with his mates and he takes a space and he does Freeze and he does this amazing show, they all support each other. I think that has gone, and actually that's very sad right now. And how do we get this back in a very busy city? So maybe in Berlin, there is more of this feeling of community between artists visiting each other, saying, oh yeah, can I look? But I think it's, in big city is a bit lost, and I can see a lot of artists, for example, in New York, they left New York because there was no sense of, artists supporting each other, and they've gone to, let's say, LA, where it feels a little bit more, helping each other. So how do we get this feeling back of, artists, helping each other? Or sometimes artists can be good because they can follow each other's work and they can also mentor each other, right? But I think in big cities this has gone, unfortunately. And how do we bring it back? It's a question we need to all address.
Thank you for the question. As Katharina said, this is something that we want to spend a long time dealing with. And trying to create, for us at Women in Art Fair, we're trying to create a global digital platform for women. And technology can help partly in building that community, partly. But we will always be trying to communicate with artists, trying to help them. We've got a very big strategy, but we can't do it all at once. We can't show you all of it. We have to prepare. But we will be attempting to address this particular issue for artists because we've seen what's gone on. It's a bit, just give us a bit of time and we'll try with technology to help.
Because I think that would be a really good idea. Say all the women that were exhibiting here, potentially form a women in art school, or women in art group, something like that. this could be really, really interesting, because you just, again, looking at art history, you know, you had all these different groups that were formed. You look at the Impressionists, the London School, you know, Fauvis. They did support each other. They might have had the same gallerists, they might have had a different gallery, but they did all support each other. And I have seen this personally through the alumni of Young Masters. They really, really support each other. It's like a family now. You know, we probably have like 350, maybe even more all over the world. And that really matters, because people can ask each other for advice. How to approach a gallerist, for instance, is a really, really tricky question, because you know usually the gallerists are. This usually happens at art fairs when you're desperate to represent and show the artists that you're committed to, and you need to nurture them. But there's other ways, and you know, I think something like that.
And definitely communicating the initiatives in which you were involved, because I said earlier the phrase knowledge is power, you know, that awareness of what's taking place, just simply sharing what's happening. Jacqueline was talking about using technology, you know, right now this is streaming online. People are involved in this conversation who are not physically in this room, and they're just as much part of this conversation. Now on that note, we are nearing the finish time, but I have one final question for the panelists, and that is, based on today's conversation, what is one key actionable for everyone in the room to put into place in the months and years to come?
So yeah, we have to say like one little thing. Opportunity. Take it all. Look for wherever you can. Be positive. Have chutzpah. Be a little bit more American, dare I say. You know, I mean, look at not, oh, you can't do that. Well, yes, you can. And really go for it.
I think perseverance. I've been I wouldn't say business, because actually it's my baby, but I've been in the art world for 30 years, and I've never given up. You know, all the ups and the downs, and I'm actually very happy to have amazing artists around me. And I think, and of course my supporters, my collectors, all this. And I think that's actually my community. You know, create a community around you, and you stick with it, because even if you know, you have a dealer or an agent, sometimes you need time with them. Results are not straight in the art world. It takes time. So I think persevering with people around you, don't close any doors. And I think that's, for me, a success of persevering and and create your own community, your own network, and grow with this community, I think.
I think my own story, my life, you know, as a creative, the artist, you create something. Is the world ready for it? Are they ready for you? No, they're not. So they're never ready for you. So through my experience, I'm a writer as well, is that you just continue to write, continue to create, continue to paint, continue to be yourself. And then when the world's ready, they'll take you and look at that way. They're not ready for you. So you've always got to be building yourself, nurturing your own talent. You don't need anybody to do that. I'd sit in my room. There could be nuclear going off. I'm just writing away in my own little world. And then someone says, actually, you know that thing you wrote the other day? Can we have that? Can we buy that from you? And that's what the galleries... There's a time and a place for everything. There's a time and a place for you. And if you're meant to be that artist, you just continue doing whatever you do. Yeah.
I think art has no age. I mean, we're actually in a very good position right now. We grow old and we grow better sometimes. So, for example, you know, I was showing Judy Chicago, who now everyone knows, in 2015. She didn't have what she had there. And she was saying to me, you know, I have shows at the Brooklyn Museum, I have this. And then suddenly, age 80, she's huge. She's the diva of the art world, right? So age is irrelevant to us. We keep going. And age 28, 38, 48, 60, the time will come, as you said, you know. And art is very about fashion too. I mean, I was having a word with a colleague on dealer, and he said, Virginia, could you introduce me? I want mature female woman. Because it's fashionable now, right? So we're in fashion.
No, I was just kind of to follow what you said earlier about building communities and networking. I think that's just the one thing for me. You never know what's going to happen. All you can do. I think networking is a bit overused word, but it's just connecting with people, actually having meaningful conversations and continuing those conversations. You never know what's going to happen. So with us, we're connected through networking in one way or another throughout the years. So yeah, that's my one key takeaway for everyone in the room. That's it.
The end.
Oh no, the beginning. Oh, it's the beginning. Oh, it's the beginning of the rest of time and the rest of our lives. So we have be positive, jump onto opportunities, be more American, persevere, create your community, don't close doors, create your own mentor network. Excellent. Community and networking, you never know what's going to happen. Continue. Whatever that is. I want to say a big thank you to the audience today for being engaged, the audience who is online as well. Also, a big thank you to our panelists. Needless to say, to the women in the art fair and the Mall Galleries for hosting this fabulous event. Afterwards, the takeaways that you want to share with the world, be sure to share the hashtags Women in Art Fair and hashtag WIAF. Thank you, everyone, for being allies. Let's work on this together. Carry on. See you at the next one.